Hello, everybody. We are here for a truly special trek on Tuesday today. You know me, you know Aaron, and you honestly might already know Jason. He's a young racing legend, and we are super pumped to have him on the show today. Hello, Jason.
Hello, how are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on the show today.
We're doing great, and we are thrilled to have you here. Jason, everybody, is an Eagle Scout. Jason is a professional race car driver, 18 years old, I think. Is that right, Jason? So
Correct,
he's at the beginning of what that could be a super long career. As you can see behind Jason right now, he's already accomplished quite a bit. We're going to get into all that, and you might be able to notice just over Jason what's his right shoulder there. A pretty cool device you'll see that he uses to train on. He's already given us, Gina and I, a little sneak peek. I got to say it's cool. His dad tells us it's not a toy, but it looks like a lot of fun. So he's going to show us all that stuff. We want to hear from you guys. If you have any questions for Jason, any comments. And Gina, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's maybe another reason why people might want to comment as well.
There is, of course, we're going to read your shout outs, and then Jason will get to hear them, which is kind of a big deal. But also, you will be entering with each comment for a chance to win a prize pack that is like nothing we've ever given away. You're going to take home a wristband, you're going to take home a card, you're going to take home a Jason hat, a Jason Alder hat, a Jason Alder t-shirt. We'll even ask for your t-shirt size so that you can get the right one, the right size for you. So yeah, comment throughout the show. You want to take home these 4 pieces of cool swag, racing swag, and we'll ship it your way. So participate throughout the show. And a reminder, Jason's an Eagle Scout. So if you're watching, you're a Cub Scout, you're a Scout, you guys have something in common, and you could follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, that's why we love stories about Eagle Scouts who go on to do cool things, and we've got one here. Let's start off, Jason, if we could. Now, Jason's going to show us that really cool device here behind him in just a second. But before we get started, Jason, you're only 18. You've been racing already for a decade, almost, I think. So you started pretty young. Tell me about that. What's it like? How did you get into racing from the beginning? And what was it like to do it? Almost Cub Scout age, right?
Yeah, actually, it was very similar timing. I remember, I think it all actually, but they both started Cub Scouts and racing at about the same time. I was 4 years old, and I have an older brother, Joshua, who got into Scouts, and he's a couple years older than me. So I remember when he, became a Bobcat and everything, I just was all over it, and I couldn't wait to join. I was literally counting down the days before I could join Cub Scouts and eventually Boy Scouts, and it was just an absolute blast doing all those things. But yeah, racing was the exact same thing. I know my dad, he was on a training for a fundraiser actually for JDRF, which is a diabetes research nonprofit. And when he was out training, we went by a yard sale, and he discovered a go-kart in the yard, and it was beat down. It needed a lot of work, but he thought it was a really good idea to potentially buy and bond with me and my brother. I was 4 and he was 6 at the time, and so he ended up buying it, and we took about a year or so fixing it up together, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it looked cool, and it seemed like a lot of fun. So eventually we got it running. We took it to the parking lot at my elementary school, and I just turned laps, and I just fell in love with it. It was the coolest thing ever. I was 5 at this point, and then one day I just went to my dad. I was like, Dad, I want to race. This would be something really cool to do, like against other people at the same time. And so we ended up doing a little bit of research. We found a racetrack here in Maryland called Sandy Hook Speedway, and we ended up going. And one thing led to another. We ended up buying like a real racing go-kart, because the kart that we bought was not like a competitive kart. They all had different equipment. So we ended up buying one of them, and that was the beginning of where we are now. And that was 12 years ago. I was 6 at the time. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey.
You've got our audience commenting. We've got an Eagle Class of 97 member here. Hey, Justin, thanks for watching. We have Arnold saying hello from Pack 310 out of Circle 10 here in Texas. Ron says hello, Jason, from Kennesaw, Georgia. And Mary Jane, I believe, might be your great aunt, and she's watching. We're so glad to have her watching today. Hello. Okay, you have this audience wondering the obvious question. Did you do Pinewood Derby?
Oh, did we? Yes, absolutely we did. Absolutely we did. So I'm actually one of 5 siblings. There's a lot of us. And with me and my brother in Scouts, we would compete in our dens and in our pack. And our pack, of course, had like the siblings and family races too. And so being in a family of 7, every year for the Pinewood Derby, we would have like 5 or 6 cars going. And so when Pinewood Derby season came around, it was a very big deal. There were hours and hours and hours that went into making all those cars. And of course, they have like some of the craziest designs. I know we have anything from like the aerodynamic kind of almost Formula Pinewood Derby cars, which is what we would use. And I know some of my sisters got like a palm tree and all sorts of just crazy stuff going on. So, but yes, we took it pretty seriously, and I think we ended up winning 2 pack championships out of the 5 or 6 years we competed. But oh yeah, we had so much fun doing that stuff.
Yeah,
The
Jason can't
foreshadowing.
see
I
the.
love that. I was just gonna say I love that picture of the Pinewood Derby cars because you can see the family in them, right, Aaron?
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick that Jason can't see the photos that we're showing, but we are showing some awful cute photos of you, and I think it's your brother and some of the cars. You mentioned the one that your sister built. We showed that just now. That's really cool. It seems like a natural fit. A kid who's into racing, Pinewood Derby, kind of goes together. Yeah, there's a quick photo there of your sister's palm tree car. The rest of them look like professionally made cars. They look fast. I can only imagine they look really fast. So I bet you did pretty well in the Pinewood Derby. Gina, did you have a question?
I do. It's on behalf of Arnold, one of our viewers, and I think I'm gonna guess your answer. But Arnold wants to know, what was your preferred design, fast or artistic, Jason?
I was always a little bit of both, but I had to lean on the side of performance just a little bit more. I remember my mom, she's pretty good with painting and arts and crafts. So I remember I'd work with my dad and we'd find, like the best, most competitive design we could find. And then I'd take that car to my mom and I'd be like, Mom, I've kind of got this idea in my head of what a cool car could look like. Let's make it happen. So I know one year I made it look like my go-kart that I was racing, which was, green and had like these green and yellow flames on it, number 77. So it looked like my real car. And so I thought, that is absolutely artistic because I think it's just such a cool design. And it's like the performance kind of design that me and my dad, kind of made for our cars. So absolutely, I feel like it's both, but if anything, definitely a little bit more the performance side.
That's really cool, and that's great that you worked with your mom and dad. Because we do, Pinewood Derby is supposed to be a family event. The parents aren't supposed to build them for you, right? But it's a great thing to work with your parents on. So that's very cool. There's below, you see on our screen right now. If you are interested in learning more about Jason, you can follow him on his social media. We've got his handle right there. I am Jason Alder. So Pinewood Derby, Cub Scout thing. You obviously continued active in Scouts through what at the time was called Boy Scouts, earned your Eagle. So I'm curious, Jason, anything you learned in Scouts help prepare you for being a race car driver? I know that there's some auto mechanics, things like that in there, but I'm curious, any skills like that help you prepare for where you are now?
Absolutely. So maybe not quite as much on the auto mechanic side, just because that side of motorsports is very deep, just as driving is, and they're very different. So those guys are incredibly knowledgeable and educated and talented on what they do, and I unfortunately do not have the same abilities that they have in terms of mechanics. But I will say, Scouts did teach me a lot that I use every time I'm in a race car, out of the race car, at the racetrack, doing things like this, for instance. So I would say that the one thing that made arguably the biggest difference was the public speaking merit badge back in Scouts. And so that was a tricky one at the time. I was young, maybe 13 or 14. And of course, that's that kind of difficult age where it could be a little bit difficult to speak in front of, large groups of people or stuff like that.
Sure.
But as a driver, there's cameras in our faces all the time. Sometimes when, we're speaking, we'll speak into crowds of many people. So public speaking merit badge is one of those things that definitely makes a driver something to be grateful of.
Okay, that is not an answer I was expecting at all. We love to hear it. We're obviously fans of public speaking, and you're doing a fabulous job right now putting those skills to use. I know another crucial part of becoming an Eagle is service, and really just Scouts. It's a desire to serve. We definitely have seen that you have pulled that into your racing career, right? Let's talk a little bit about Drive for Diabetes.
Yeah, so for this season, for 2022, we partnered with a nonprofit called Drive for Diabetes Awareness. And their story comes from the gentleman who started it. And it's unfortunately a sad one, but there's hope in it. So unfortunately, they were a victim of not knowing what happened to their son, what he had, what he was sick with. The doctor said it was the flu, and unfortunately, whatever they did, he wasn't getting better. His name was Rocco. And when he was 1 year old, he ended up dying to diabetic ketoacidosis. And ever since that point, Brent Cool, who started Drive for Diabetes Awareness, has been doing everything he can to spread the word about type 1 diabetes awareness. So my sister actually has type 1 diabetes, and luckily enough, we managed to catch it just early enough so that she managed to live and did not go into diabetic ketoacidosis. So it is absolutely a story that I'm very passionate about. It's a charity that I'm very passionate about. And so the biggest thing I can say about it is please check, don't guess. It might not be the flu. Education is knowledge, and knowledge is the power to help save lives. So please, if you don't know what it is, go get checked, check your blood sugar, go to the doctor. You may not know. It could be type 1 diabetes.
And we've got the website on the screen right now, drivefordiabetesawareness.org. Gene and I joined Jason in urging everybody to check that out, do what you need to do. Very good information, very cool, Jason. In addition to your support for this charity, you also are part of a couple of different race teams. You were explaining that to me earlier. Can you kind of tell us how that works? You're on 2 different teams, 2 different types of racing, is that right?
Yes, very, very different types of racing. So one of them is Stratus Racing. So we've actually already had one race with them this season, and that is an endurance team. So those races are hours and hours long. I think the shortest ones are 8 hours, and the longest ones are a full 24 and even 25 hours long. So those are much different than the formula side of motorsport, where those are considered sprint races, where my races for the season will be around 35 minutes long. So very, very different. So on the Stratus side of things, which is my race team, Stratus Racing, we drive NPO1 Evo cars, which are prototype style 160-ish horsepower race cars. And we're racing against other cars that are like BMWs for the road that have been modified to race on a racetrack. We race against Aston Martins and Porsches. And of course, we're in different classes because a car with 160 horsepower competing as a car with 450 horsepower is very different. So there's actually 5 different classes that race at the same time, but you're only racing against the people in your class. So we're in definitely an interesting position being in cars that are super quick in the corners, but we're against cars that absolutely just leave us on the straightaways. It might be 30 or 40 miles per hour faster. So those races definitely teach you a lot in terms of patience, which is something that is really beneficial for me that I can take into those sprint races in the formula car where, it might be a little bit different. It might help me make some better decisions through traffic or passing cars, things like that. Because when you're in an 8-hour race, you have to be patient. So obviously, one driver can't sit in a race car and drive for 8 hours straight. It's a team effort. But there's actually 3 or even 4 different drivers that will share that 8-hour race. And so in the middle of the race, we'll come in for a pit stop and they'll fill us up with gas. And one driver will get out and a new driver will hop in, and then they got to go. And you'll do that, 3, 4, 5 times in one event. And that's for the short events. For a long event like the 24-hour races, it's even more. So it's definitely tricky and very interesting coming into the pit, stopping the car, shutting it off. And while other cars are racing, you're getting out of the race car, you're helping the next driver get in and close the door and get him on his way. And it is something pretty incredible. So I had my first race in New Orleans about 2 weeks ago, and it was a blast.
Well, you've definitely drawn a lot of attention. In case anybody is wondering, of course, he caught our eye, and he's in Scout Life headliners. Jason is. We're getting a lot of comments. People very excited for what you're doing, Jason. A reminder for anybody commenting: every comment is a chance to win our awesome prize pack today. Dean says, Jason is this friendly and sincere in person. It was a pleasure to meet him last year. You've got fans in the comments. We've got a Cub Scout, Xavier, who is a regular watcher of the show. Shout out to your Cub Scout Pack 817. Thanks for tuning in, Xavier. We talked a lot about success. You found a lot of success in racing, but it doesn't always go according to plan, I'm guessing. I think it's time to get into some racing goodness. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Crashing is a part of auto racing. It happens. And we've got a video that we're going to show you guys. And I know, Jason, you're not going to be able to see this, but here in just a second, Brian is going to put a video on screen of a particularly, I don't want to say nasty crash, but for a guy like me who's never driven a race car before, it looks really scary. But you know which one I'm talking about, Jason. While Brian plays this video, maybe kind of tell us what happened. Where was this? And what exactly is going on here?
So this was at Charlotte Motor Speedway back in 2019, the beginning of 2019, and this is a legend car. So they race these on ovals and road courses across, the eastern coast, the west coast, all over the world actually. And so in this individual instance, I was late to the pack we had an issue, and I came in the hot pit. And by the time I went around, they were already ahead of me by a good bit. And as I was approaching this one car to pass, they have a rule where you can only pass on the outside on the first lap going to the start finish line. So until you got past the start finish line, you have to be on the outside of it. And unfortunately, when I was approaching this one driver, he just didn't know that I was on his outside. It's kind of unexpected, and unfortunately, it was just a couple of inches away from being successful. And something like this typically happens as a result of there's either a miscommunication between driver and spotter, who is the guy who's sitting outside of the race car that's able to communicate with the driver to tell them of cars that are approaching them, or whether or not they're clear to move up or down the racetrack or something like that. So unfortunately, it was pretty scary for me, but what goes through my head when I'm driving, and as soon as that contact is made and the car literally flips over, I'm thinking about my hands, because that's the big thing. Those are flying around. They can even stick outside of the race car. So the first thing I do is I grab my Hans device, my seat, because I know those aren't going in. So Hans device is the device that keeps my head on straight when I'm in a big crash like this. So that prevents my head from moving forward or twisting too far or anything like that. It's saved dozens of drivers' lives since it was invented. So I hold on to that as tight as I can, and I just go along for the ride, really, because there's not much that I can do. So it definitely is a pretty crazy moment, but being scared is not one of the emotions that runs through your head. The first thing you're thinking is just keeping your arms protected and safe, and then the second thing you're thinking is can I still race? So I know once the car lands, assuming that there was still the bodywork on the car and a hood and there were no flames, I'd be thinking about what I got to do to get it started back up and to get back in the race. But unfortunately, that car had a little bit of damage, and that was the end of my weekend. But it definitely was an experience, and one that I do like to talk about.
Well, there was fire, Gino. You noticed that there were flames in that video. But one thing that I was impressed with, I mean, again, I would have been freaking out. It seemed like, though, you were prepared. Are we talking to scouts about being prepared? So I'm just guessing this is the kind of thing you train for, right? I mean, you train for situations like that to know what to do. You mentioned grabbing a hold of your harness right there. That's all a part of your training. Am I right?
Absolutely. There's a whole list of things that a driver has to know whenever interesting events happen like this. So I know another thing, generally speaking, when you see flames, you got to get out of the car as fast as you can. So I know one thing that a lot of drivers will train to do, and by a lot, I mean all, is how fast they can get out of the race car. And that can be pretty challenging, especially in a high pressure situation, or maybe those flames are a little big and there's a lot of pressure, a lot of emotion, a lot of adrenaline in your body. It can be really difficult to be precise and undo your belts, unplug the radio, get the steering wheel off, open the door, get out of the race car. It can be a pretty tricky time. So definitely, I know. I think in that clip, you can actually see me take the steering wheel off before the cars even stopped rolling. So yep. I was pretty active on making sure I was getting out of there, because being on fire is not one thing that I plan on doing anytime soon.
No, it looked intense to me, and our audience agrees. They're also really impressed with the quality of the camera within the car. I think they're also going to be super impressed as we take a look at the racing software we're about to show. Is it a good time to check it out?
I think it's a great time.
Yeah, let's do it. Jason's got some really advanced training hardware and software. Jason, as you get situated there's a quick shot of the view from the wide view. You can see that seat. Jason, am I right? Pretty realistic. Does it feel like a real race car?
Oh yes, the driving position is identical to how I feel in the real race car. It's everything is put at a certain place so that when I'm sitting in my race car in real life, the steering wheel and the pedals and the feel of the seat is exactly how it feels.
And you can see on the other side of that screen, Gina, there was that device in the back. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the PC. That's the machine that's running this thing right there. You see the green glow there on the left. That's the it looks better than my computer, Gina. Device that's cool, running the software. And then he's got 3 monitors in front of him. That obviously gives him kind of a peripheral view there. Jason, take us through a little practice run here. Tell us how it works and give us a little demonstration here.
Sure, absolutely. So here we are, just on Windows. Essentially, it's just a Windows PC. The first thing I want to do is I want to go to SimHub. And here in SimHub, this is where I'll configure my dash. So obviously, this is a pretty state-of-the-art steering wheel. In fact, this steering wheel is a steering wheel that's used in real race cars that's been adapted to work on the simulator. So here we go. I have a list of different dashes that I can use. I'm going to use this aim dash, which again is a real dash that I can use in a real race car. So I'll use this one, and here it says engine off, of course. So I'm going to close out of here, and here we go into the software. So this is iRacing. iRacing is considered to be the absolute best simulator software that you can use, that's mainstream, that anyone can use with some pretty basic equipment. So obviously you don't need a sim rig like this to even use this software. There's plenty of drivers out there with some pretty simple setups that can compete on iRaces. Here we are, we're going to go to test drive. And here I can set all sorts of different settings. So this is about weather. So here I can choose whether or not to have weather on or off. I can choose the clouds, clear, partly cloudy, mostly cloudy, overcast, temperature, humidity, wind speed. I like all of this I can change. So I'm just going to leave that on the default settings. And here, this is where we select our car. iRacing has a massive selection of cars that we use, but me being a road course driver who tends to drive Formula race cars, I will choose this Formula car. This is an Indy Pro 2000 race car that I have not driven in real life. However, I would not be surprised if that happens sometime soon. So anyway, here we are at the track. I will choose Barber Motorsports Park. Again, there's just a huge list of tracks, and I've driven on most of these tracks in real life, Barber included. So I will select Barber here. It's a pretty incredible track. It's in Alabama. We'll leave marbles on the racetrack. Marbles are small, like pieces of rubber that come off of tires that tend to leave themselves on the racetrack where the drivers do not drive, and they're very slippery. So we'll set time to afternoon, and we will hop into the sim here.
So as this sets up, Jason, you had all those options there with weather, race car. All of that stuff is not just for show, right? That actually affects the way the machine feels, the way it drives. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All of those things have quite an effect on the handling of the car, how the car will change throughout the run. Because one thing about a lot of these simulator software is the tire model, so they call it. So basically the way the tire feels when it's brand new versus 5 laps old versus 10 laps old, the way it can handle more speed in the corners, and then eventually once you go too fast, it'll slide. That's how you slip or have a spin or something like that. So the tire model are very, very intricate. So I know iRacing has a very good one, but it takes quite a while for those tires to come in, which means have their maximum grip. So we're essentially on weather, we're just on our default settings here. But here we are at Barber. I'm going to go to the garage, and this is where I can make all sorts of changes to the car. So I can change anything from tire pressures on this page. This is all about tires on the top here. This is about aerodynamics. I can change kind of the angles of the wings to increase or decrease my downforce. Here we go to chassis. This is where I can change all sorts of things like tie rod sizes and push rod offsets, shock stiffness, spring rate, camber, toe. All these things I can change. So I'm just going to put it on the default Barber setup because, like I said, I'm absolutely not an engineer or mechanic by any means. So we will put on the default, and here we are into the sim. So this view is pretty much spot on with what I see when I'm in the real car. If anything, I have slightly better visibility. Typically, my head might be a little bit lower, but generally speaking, this is pretty much spot on. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of take off here a little bit. We have our pit limiter on that keeps our speed down. That's what those lights you see on the dash, and we'll turn that off now that we're out of the pit lane. Here we go.
Ron does have an important question, which is, where is the cup holder?
That's a good one. Well, believe it or not, in Formula cars, yes, we do not get the luxury of having a drink bottle in the race car. However, in those endurance cars that we were talking about earlier, yes, some of them actually do have cup holders. Believe it or not. I have yet
you probably have to stay hydrated, right? If you're in the car for that long.
Correct. So when I was at New Orleans for that 8-hour endurance race, I was in the car for 3 hours straight. And when I was in the car, absolutely, it gets pretty toasty in there. So when I come in for a fueling, I'll have my co-driver bring out a bottle of drink for me. He'll actually be able to hydrate me a little bit while I'm still in the race car. So here we go. We're just making our first lap here. The first lap out on the racetrack, we call that the Outlap. What I'm trying to do is just build tire temp, because right now the tires are relatively very slippery. So I'm just making sure that we get some good lateral grip in the tires, putting some heat in there, hitting the brakes, making sure that our brakes are nice and warm, so make sure that they're at their maximum efficiency as well. So sometimes it could take anywhere from 2 to 3 laps to get peak grip in the tire. So that's what we're doing. We're just going to take it easy a little bit, get a feel for it. So here we go. This is the start finish for the first time. We're going to take it a little bit easy, maybe 85% in terms of attack mode, I like to say. Just getting more heat in the car, heat in the tires. Barber's an incredible racer.
We
I've only
hear
been
like
here
a
one
clicking.
time.
What is the clicking that we hear? It's not a problem, but I'm curious. What are we seeing and hearing?
So that is me shifting a car. So that's on the back half of the steering wheel. Those are called paddle shifters. It's very normal in most, and in fact, all modern day Formula race cars are equipped with paddle shifters, and a lot of luxury cars like Mercedes and BMWs for the road have paddle shifters. So that is how I shift the gears really, really fast. So I know in most of these Formula cars, they do have clutches. However, you don't need to use them for anything other than taking off and coming to a stop. But when I'm just driving around, I can leave full throttle on the gas and just click the paddle and I'm up a gear.
This is a thing I did not know, Aaron.
Me neither. I know. So full throttle. Are you at full throttle for the most part, and you just control your speed by shifting gears, or are you releasing and pushing the gas pedal more than that?
I would say I'm on full throttle most of the lap. Yes,
Okay.
unless I'm braking for a corner. Obviously, I'll disclose the throttle, or if there's a corner that's very fast, maybe I won't use any brakes at all, but I will just kind of crack out of the throttle. But most of the lap, absolutely. I mean, if we think about it, a lap might be 2.5 miles long. The longer you're on full throttle, the longer the lap time is going to be. We want to make those corners essentially as long, as straight as possible. We don't want to make a corner bigger than it needs to be.
Hey guys, if you're watching and you want to keep up with Jason Alder on the socials, as I've learned is the way to say it, we've got his handle. I am Jason Alder. You can follow him on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. He's even on LinkedIn. You can also head to his website. Also, I think it's IamJasonAlder.com. I'm trying to go off of memory on that one. We have it on the bottom of the screen in just a second. You can keep up with his racing ventures. He's going to go far. Oh, yes, I got it right. Also, reminder, he was in Headliners. I think we even have a picture of that.
Yeah, and that was a couple years ago when he was just a young 16. He's now 18. But yeah, we even knew, and our credit to our managing editor who saw something in young Jason and said, I think this guy deserves to be in a BL headliner. There you see, young Jason from, I believe, 2019 issue of the magazine there. Very, very cool. He looks a little bit older, I'd say, Gina. A little more mature now, but he looked pretty good back then.
This was back when it was Boys Life, not Scout Life, so that he's been at this a while, but he's still young, which just tells you how young he was here.
Yes, exactly. And just a reminder, everybody, we're just a few minutes away from giving away our prize pack. This is your last chance pretty much here to comment with any questions or anything. If you want a chance to win a prize back from Team Alder, from Jason's racing team. We're giving away 4 different prizes today, all a part of one pack: a t-shirt, a hat, a wristband, and a card. There you go. Thank you, behind the scenes, Brian, for showing that. Very, very cool. Jason, I think you said you've got your next race is coming up in a few weeks. You're going back down to Louisiana. Is that right?
That is correct. That will be with the Formula team, I think at the end of April.
Very, very cool. We wish you the best of luck there. We definitely will be following along. Gina, how are things looking for our giveaway? I don't know if it's time for you to put on those glasses. Sometimes Gina has to put on her
my random comment picker glasses. I've got a winner. I used the random comment picker. You will not believe who won today, but before I tell you, Ben says, Jason, congratulations, live your dream. Jennifer loves the simulator. We've got a lot of encouraging posts for you. Jason, if you guys are watching this and you think that there's a scout out there who might be interested in Jason's story or following along with his racing career, be sure to tag them in the comments so they can check out this video. And our winner for our sweet racing prize pack today, I can't believe it, it's Xavier!
Xavier is a long-time viewer, Jason. This is a thrill. I always kind of hoped that Xavier would win because he's been following us since Gina and I started doing this 2 years ago, maybe. So
Wow.
young Xavier is growing up in front of our very eyes. Congratulations, buddy. That's so cool.
Yes, I don't know if he commented this before or after I announced it, but he said, "I've never won, but I don't care." Now he says, "Now I have won."
Yes,
So,
he's
Xavier, congrats. Have your mom or dad check Facebook, and we'll make sure we get your items shipped your way. Jason, any closing thoughts? Anything you want to wish to any scouts out there who are maybe thinking like, I'm kind of interested in this?
Well, first I want to congratulate Xavier. I think that's pretty incredible that his first win is this giveaway. So I'll make sure that I send you the best stuff, and I'll put a little message in there for you, Xavier. Thanks
awesome.
for watching the show. But absolutely, yeah. To all the scouts out there, scouting is huge. It is huge. It has made such a difference in my life, in the race car, out of the race car. Like I said earlier, it is incredible. The lessons you learn now and things you learn in merit badges and with your scout leaders and your other scouts that are around you, you'll use them for your whole life, no matter what you go into. So absolutely hold on to scouts. Do everything you can. Meet people at scouting. They're great people. And please do everything you can. Try to become an Eagle Scout. It is life-changing.
That is awesome. Gina, if I have time to ask Jason one more question. Behind you, we see it looks like the impressive collection of trophies, things like that. I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you just grab your favorite or grab one that means something to you and show it to us real quick? Anyone that, has special significance or anything like that?
Let's see. All right. We'll pick this one right here. This is a different kind of trophy. This is a ring. So this ring I won back in go-karting, actually. So I go-karted for 6 years, and this ring I won in my last year that I raced, and this was the biggest accomplishment that I was dreaming about for all 6 of those years, and this is one where I finally accomplished it. So this was kind of the national championship ring that was won on the very last race of the year. So it's like a whole year to get it done, and it took 5 years of training to do it. And I just, every time I look at this ring, I just remember, like, I don't remember that race season that made me win the ring. I remember the 6 years of work that I did with my dad. It was just him and I. We didn't have anybody else, and we did it all together. So by far on this one, I'd say that this ring, obviously not the biggest, and some other rings out there that may look cooler, but this one is the most special.
I like that ring. I think we need to have you come
very
back
cool.
on to talk about go-karts. That would be really fun. We'd love to have you back on at any time. Jason, thank you for your time. We know that it is precious because you got a lot of training and other things to do. A reminder, everybody, at I am Jason Alder on the socials. Check him out. Aaron, thank you for helping coordinate this today. Viewers, thanks for tuning in today. And Jason, you rock. Good luck.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Good
luck with your race upcoming in Louisiana. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you later. Bye, everybody. Bye, Jason.
Bye, guys.